Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to House Divided on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That's Chad Hastings. Together, we're known as the Men in Gray. Actually, that's not what they call us. It'd be nice if they did. That probably is an upgrade from the things that people actually say about us, Chad.
Yeah, that would be that goes up. Yeah, they've never said that about us.
I feel like I'll take that as a W, a rare one if I can grab it. Like, comment, subscribe to the page, jump into the Specs chat, and chat it up. Chad, I mentioned when we first spoke earlier today, I was like, look, got a few ideas for the show. And oh, by the way, the show brought to you by Texas Card House and the guys over at Hijack Poker. It's kind of one of the same locations all over the state of Texas. And if you want to play online poker, go to hijackpoker.com, scan that QR code, play for real money against real people. You got to be inside the state of Texas. There's a little bit of dynamics in play, but they got a noon tournament going on right now that, you know what, Chad? I might just do that like in the middle of the show. Just don't pay attention to me if I start to seem distracted. I'm going to make it through the opening 10 minutes, though, because I feel like I got to be on my game to talk about finances and numbers and things like that. But
yeah. But later on, if people see that face after I make a comment and you make that face, they need to know it's not about me. It's about something that happened on the river.
No,
that's
look,
what they need to know.
Here's what I'm giving you the tell, okay? You ready?
Yes.
If you see my head turn like this,
that many degrees is a hijack. That's a hijack turn.
I'm looking at the hijack poker board right now.
It's the hijack turn. Okay.
If I'm not, I look ahead.
Fair enough.
And if I'm working, you'll see my head do things like this, you know, like I'm all over the place. But if it's pure hijack, and the head just stays frozen. And then I just stare and I look. And I know you're talking to me right here, but I'm looking right there.
Yeah, Catch, we're going to get into, you mentioned money and stuff. I've already seen chats that I like. They're ready to talk about it. Tex Blonde says, money well spent. Mark is already in with I'm curious when the promises or checks start bouncing at some of the other schools. And Tex Blonde responded with, we already know they have at OU. So they're ready.
At the table. I was talking to Chad earlier today. I said, man, I got a couple different ideas for shows. This is a couple hours ago. And I said, but I think, you know how sometimes we're doing a show that is responding to the hot thing the day before. I said, I think about the time that we go on the air today, the like trending topic, the discussion of the day is going to be the Kirk Bowles report in the Houston Chronicle that states that Texas will have $35 to $40 million spent in NIL money this season. In fact, let me read you what Kirk wrote so that everybody is like fully on board. It says, with the addition of 10 football players out of the transfer portal and probably one or two more on the way, the budget for next season's Texas roster has grown as well. It currently sits between 35 and 40 million, which counts the likely revenue sharing allotment expected to be 20.5 million, as well as payouts through the Texas One Fund, a connected source tells the Houston Chronicle. So full stop. That there's more to get into, and we will.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a big, we've been having these conversations for years. Certainly you and I, since we started the show a couple of summers ago, but I mean, this has been an ongoing conversation that has been going on for more than half a decade on various Orange Bloods, modcasts and the old Ticket City locker room and all of the things that we've ever done. We've had these conversations. Last year, Chad, everybody knew that Ohio State's number sat at about 20 million, and it was thought to be the number one spend in college football. And I was always really quick to say, like, Texas is right there. And I don't know what their exact number is, but if it's not a tie, it's really close. That those two schools both spent a lot of money and that it's like 20-ish for last year. Well, we know that a couple of dynamics have changed, and one of them, which is the settlement that is sitting in the courts waiting to be approved, but not yet, even as of a week ago, which would then allot $20.5 million of revenue sharing into the kitty, which what that really did was take $20.5 million, of which not all goes to football unless you want it to. I guess Texas could do that. I would be stunned if all 20.5 of that went to football. I've not heard of a school anywhere that's quite doing that, even if there's some extreme 90-10 splits. And I don't even know that that's extreme. I just mean in terms of, we see schools like Kansas have a completely different split. Kentucky.
Yeah. And that's a good clarification to make, Catch. I think a lot of fans may hear the 20.5 and think it's just a football discussion. That is the university amount they think is going to be there to pay all NIL, all sports.
But it doesn't mean that the collective goes away.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that suddenly that's the only amount of money that is invested. And so what you've really seen is that now all of the schools roughly are within a few $1 million of legally being able to spend inside the athletic department what NIL collectives raised for schools a year ago. So all it did was just throw hundreds of millions of dollars into the NIL space to pay college football players and college athletes. And so, we've been talking about that number that Texas had a year ago. We know that it's gone up. We know that players like Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill, this is not something that we've talked about this, that originally when I first reported it, I heard that those two guys combined were going to cost at a minimum for Texas of like $3.5 million this year, those two guys. Whereas a year ago, they were probably sitting on the $750,000, $800,000 kind of internal limit that existed, which we've talked about a million times on this show because of all of the discussions of DeCorian Moore and Michael Fasusi and Justice Terry. And so we know that the price of business has been going up, and we've seen in real time Texas adjust things that they didn't necessarily want to adjust. So internally, okay, well, it was about 20 a year ago. And everybody got raises. And what do we know about the raises? Well, we know in some cases guys were getting double what they got a year ago. And we know that guys that are in the transfer portal are kind of getting maybe like $1 million. When Murad Watson goes into the portal, the Syracuse coach, Fran Harris, isn't that his name? Did I just call him the former UT basketball player?
I was going to say the former UT basketball player is definitely Fran Brown.
Thank you. Sorry.
Fran Brown, I think.
You're right.
Okay. Yeah.
That's when you've got so many names in your head that like a former. And the thing is, I'm so proud of myself. I was like, wait a minute.
You did. No, you caught that immediately. And Side note, shout out to the great Fran Harris. Fran, if you're out there, hope you're doing well.
No, there's like a better than decent chance that at least somebody will see Fran today and say, hey, you got a random shout out on House Divided.
Love me some Fran Harris.
I think Fran used to work with my mom, but that's another story. So I think that, it doesn't take a lot for the money to get to that level. So look, I reached out to a source earlier today, one that I trust on these matters. And I just said, hey, man, is the number that Bowles floated, is that right? And my source was like, my source then gave me a very specific number that was in the middle of 35 and 40 million.
That was in the realm. Okay.
And so, yeah. And I, as soon as I saw that, I said, that makes sense. When I first responded to the Bowles just on Orange Bloods, I said, that tracks. That's kind of what I've expected, because the minimum wage for most of the power schools moving forward will be about 20, because everybody will have probably between 15 and 17 that comes from the university that will then be allocated to football. And then, even if you're not doing much in NIL, a couple of million, and now you're at 20. So you're not asking of your collective a lot of heavy lifting to get to 20, which means it's not hard to see the Texas Techs of the world being at 30 with the way that they've got financial. So like there are schools that have money, and what do we know that Texas is going to do? They don't necessarily want to lead. I think by the end of the year, Texas will have contemporaries that are, because Nebraska is reportedly going to spend close to 30 this year, Chad. So, I don't think Texas would say we're leading the nation because by God, we're Texas. I don't think they worry about that a whole lot anymore. But, when the Ohio State thing happened a year ago, the one thing we didn't hear from Texas people was a real, like, hey, get out there that we spent more than that. You know what I mean? Like, if I talk to sources behind the scenes, they'd go, oh, Ohio State's numbers are a little bit overcooked. We think we're probably spending about as much as they are. But I think, there was a little bit of there's a little bit of fool's gold in how they're framing that. And then I would have people say, and this is important, that $35-40 million number for Texas does not include anything that Arch Manning gets on his own. And it really doesn't include Texas having to pay for a starting quarterback, which is a running theme of the last few years. At some point, Texas will be in the market for having to pay the going rate of a high-level college quarterback.
A non-Manning quarterback.
Who can't do what Arch Manning does, which is just go into Park Avenue and whip out his wallet and show everybody his driver's license and then say half. And they go,
You mean every quarterback can't just raise $180,000 for a children's hospital off of a NFT because he wants to? They all can't do that?
They all cannot do that.
No.
And so now I think one of the real, and so now, if we just stop there, Chad, we have a show. Because I know that there's some immediate reaction of there will be people who say, God damn right, we're spending $40 million a year. And then there will be people who say, I'm out, that this is not what I thought college athletics was. And maybe they're just awakening to the fact that it's a billion-dollar industry. And for years and decades, when people have said, if you let the players get paid, they'd probably be well paid. And I was like, oh, no, it's all about the names on the front of the jerseys and not the back of the jerseys. And it's like, well, no, as it turns out, if you're 6'3", 300 pounds, it's about actually what's inside the belly of the jersey, if we're being completely honest.
We're getting some good chat responses. Colby says, hey, not my money. Spend it in capital letters. I think there's a lot of fans that maybe would go that way. JD's checking, can the Texas 1 continue after the settlement? Yes. The collectives will continue. Catch, but I think
real quick, to JD's post. Just in the event, JD, that you're like, well, Catch and Chad said it, but maybe that doesn't mean anything. I will literally, hold on. I will read to you because I think it's important. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Or sometimes I would just humor myself and do it. So I suppose I'm not telling a complete story. Hold on, let me find it. Okay, so someone affiliated with the Texas One Fund, someone affiliated that's known to be affiliated with the Texas One Fund. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to be able to point that out. He said, huge, massive disservice for baseball, volleyball, women's basketball, and other non-settlement sports, which that I found interesting. Because that would seem to indicate that whatever happens in the settlement, it does not get spread, at least at Texas, is not going to be spread out among the sports. So there are going to be, that's news actually right there. I don't know that I had completely stopped and read that sentence. Let me read that to you again, because it stopped me in my tracks now that I literally am reading it out loud on the show. Huge, massive disservice to baseball, volleyball, women's basketball, and our other non-settlement sports for saying our collective is going away. Texas One Fund will be more important than ever. What's really interesting about that is there aren't many sports left if baseball and women's basketball are not going to be considered settlement sports, which is the revenue sharing allotment that every university is getting. Now, it's going to be fascinating to watch all of the schools report. The public schools will have to. What the allocation of dollars will look like. We've seen some schools do this already.
So you're saying there's certain sports that even if they wanted to give the money, they couldn't? They're going to be told these are the sports you can give the money to?
Every school determines where the settlement money comes from. A school can decide we want to give all $20.5 million to football, but it's not been as cut and dry as, for instance, and I've mostly talked about this with Kansas, because Kansas is going to be getting maybe $5 million-ish for basketball. And their football coaches are saying, whoa, you're hamstringing us if you're only at that point then going to give us 14 or 15 million, because we're competing against Utah and Utah's getting 17 or 18 million. And, you know, the expectation is that football and men's basketball get the lion's share of the money in all of these settlements. It was a question of, what do you leave for women's basketball? And what do you leave that then becomes almost insulting? Like if you left $250,000 for Texas baseball, is that insulting? Or is like, hey man, that's better than nothing? I don't know. But it sounds like, based on, again, what a Texas One official is saying, and I think his large point was probably not to be like news breaking, but like his point was to say Texas One Fund to answer. It was Allen, right? I'm sorry, I'm looking at, yeah, it was JD, excuse me.
Yeah.
JD Allen, as it would have it. In saying that the Texas One Fund will be more important than ever, I've never had anybody flat out tell me that baseball, volleyball, women's basketball wouldn't get anything. Now, maybe that's not quite what he meant, but what he wrote seems to indicate that those sports and what he says are other non-settlement sports, they're going to need the collective because they're not getting any of the revenue sharing. So fascinating. Because I think we've all wondered, well, how does Title IX for so long that has dominated the way we've thought about scholarships and equity in college athletics? I've always, it's always been one of these things that it's like, well, if you pay one guy, well, what about Title IX? Like, it's almost like been a defense mechanism against actually giving athletes payments money, because it's like, well, what are you going to give the women's rower if you're giving the quarterback this? And
yeah, but maybe do they get around that by by really going down that revenue generating thing?
I don't know, but clearly they're getting around it. This is not socialism. It is not, okay, well, there's 20 programs and there's $20 million, so everybody gets a mill, and that seems fair. That's not how this is going to work out. So, and I haven't seen an expectation that that's how it would work out. So maybe what we're learning, and maybe this is a 2025 issue and maybe not 2015 or 2005, is that Title IX doesn't have the teeth from a threat standpoint as it felt like it used to have, when it felt like nothing could ever get, it was almost like putting a bill in front of Congress. It was like, well, it's got to go into the committees, and then it's got to do this, and then people are going to add stuff, and then people are going to then they're going to want to take stuff out, and then it has to actually get through the House, and then it has to pass the Senate, and then it gets vetoed. Like, it's a little bit like that. So interesting that there just doesn't seem to be any conversation at all about that. Maybe that's outlined specifically in the settlement in a way, but I think all of this is really interesting. And just to get it out there, Chad, before we kind of just go into discussion and the chat, and I know everybody in the Specs chat has got stuff that they want to spit out. What's interesting, and look, I have had, so one of the other things that's in this deal is that Bowles writes, this also figures to be a one-time exorbitant expense because athletic director Chris Del Conte and others. Anwar, I'm in the middle of a show. Which, if Anwar is calling me in the show, should I?
I don't know. Maybe.
Hey, Anwar, since I'm in the middle of the show, I figured I'd answer the call on the show because it had to be important.
Yeah, maybe I will.
Okay.
Want to pay a bill real quick here? Maybe. Catch you me to pay a bill.
I will get back with you on that.
Yeah. Live on the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
So, actually, that was important stuff.
Yeah. Something had made its way into the chat, and I'd asked you on the teams if we needed to. I don't know. So I've just, yeah. We also see a $50 super chat from Jacko. So we will definitely get.
Let's go to the super chat while I deal with a few other things
as well. Okay. We'll do a super chat, maybe pay a bill or two here. Jacko's $50. We have to eventually have a salary cap, right? I mean, Jacko, that's where this amount's going to start. This 20 and a half that Catch keeps mentioning. We don't know if that's officially in stone yet. That's the estimate that's been thrown out there. But think of it as a salary cap because each year I think it could go up. It could continue to go up. Each year, that 20 and a half, maybe 1 year it's 22, and then 1 year it's 23. Kind of like in the NBA, or when I think of it, I'm trying to think of a salary cap. That's one of the places where we see it. Salary cap, luxury tax world of like the NBA or maybe baseball. I think you may have that, where there's a cap announced every year of, yep, here's what you can spend. So yes, but is it going to be a cap that stops at some point? I don't know. Not as long as this world of college athletics, specifically football, keeps generating the money. That's at least my take on where that would be. Catch, that's your understanding of this 20 and a half, right? That's not a 20 and a half in cement. It could change moving forward.
Yes, because I think it's a deal that will constantly be reevaluated in the courts. So there's almost this expectation that that this is for now, and that they're just constantly going to kick the can down the road, and this could probably gets adjusted every few years. That it really comes down to litigation and like what happens in the courts beyond this. So it'll probably be up to college athletics to, for the first time, once they get this thing settled, to move this thing forward in a way that they can finally get ahead of themselves a little bit, so that they're not always reacting to the latest courtroom lawsuit that they've lost. So at some point, I think they feel like this thing's going to slow down and that they'll then be able to get ahead of it. I just think the really interesting thing about this scenario as it's outlined is that I think Chris Del Conte and the powers that be think that there are going to be guardrails put in by this law settlement that will bring the costs way down significantly, like maybe by half, instead of this thing growing to like $80 million a year for a team, right? Because we're growing. There seems to be this thought that there will be guardrails that will allow this spending to come down. And when I've asked questions today about, well, like, how will that fundamentally work? Well, first of all, there will be inside the settlement, there will be auditors that decide contract by contract what fair market value is. So in theory, there will now be an independent auditing agency that's going to be in this settlement that will look at the deals and decide what a fair market value contract either is or isn't, right? So there's this thought process of it has to pass the smell test. But isn't what a guy's worth determined by what someone else is willing to pay him? You know, if Chad comes to me tomorrow and says, man, I need a raise to $1 million, and I go, well, Chad, we're not $1 million company, and you're not $1 million worker. And he's like, well, no, but ESPN just offered me a 5-year deal worth $7 million. So I am actually, it's like, oh, you are worth, like, so it sounds like, it feels like in college athletics that when we say the inmates are running the asylum, that we mean the athletes. But what if the NIL spenders are also in the asylum? The question I haven't had answered is who stops Texas Tech from saying, well, fuck that auditors. We think this guy's worth $1 million for us. Like, I'm not quite sure, and it sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen. If a guy either hears from a collective or a school that they're willing to give him X amount of dollars, because I was told, look, you'll see All-Americans probably getting like $1 million, and then everybody else is like on 100,000. And it's like, huh. Part of that sounds like collusion. But I guess some of this is just being outlined that it's all based on the percentage of revenue sharing and things like that. It's like, okay, but still, when it comes to name, image, and likeness, these guys are able, like, they can't tell Arch Manning if he's making $10 million in NIL. Well, we don't think that's market value. What's the market value for Arch Manning? There's no other Arch Manning. How are you going to decide what the market value is for Arch Manning, who, oh, by the way, none of his stuff is even coming from a collective? So I keep hearing that there are guardrails. And Kirk, and I'm going to report on the guardrails in the next 24 hours on Orange Bloods. But I don't know that I believe 100% that the guardrails will work like I think those inside the belly of the beast are hoping the guardrails will work, because it's like we've learned in pro sports all of these years. You can tell people not to spend their money foolishly if they run a pro sports franchise. There's always somebody willing to do anything in the name of winning. How many smart people, allegedly, have we seen given foolish contracts because they have to, or at least that's the corner that they've pushed themselves in to feeling like, well, we have to. And if you're Texas, Texas has made its rise in the last couple of years off a non-socialist kind of like situation that everybody isn't able to spend the same. And what's made Texas and Ohio State different is that they were able to spend more, have more, do more. It sounds like Texas will be, at least if you're listening to what I'm being told behind the scenes and what Kirk Bowles is being told behind the scenes, probably by like some of the same people. And I think Kirk has access to Del Conte. So I don't think Kirk reported anything that I doubt he did. I doubt this didn't get run up the Chris Del Conte food chain. Like, those two talk. So I'm sure that is spot on. But when you're Texas and you are in the position that you're in, I just wonder, like, how does a Miami think about this? What does Florida State think about this? What does Ole Miss think about this? Because I just wonder who keeps the $100,000 players from becoming $200,000 players. And then once that starts, what's to keep that from becoming $3? There's always going to be a thirst for your programs to have more players and better players. And the thing is, you might rate your starting right guard as a $100,000 player, but a starting guard at Texas is different than a starting guard at Texas Tech. And Texas Tech may say, we are so weak up front. You know what? 1.5. We'll pay 1.5 for the guy that you think, or we'll pay 400,000 for the guy that you, because we, inside of our collective, that percentage works. I just think that this thing's far trickier. At least it seems like to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this settlement will have it all figured out and what I'm hearing is right, but it still has me asking a lot of questions, and the answers seem to be, well, the spending will be controlled. And it's like, well, that could be happening right now. Spending could be controlled. You guys could not have $30 plus, $35 plus million committed to NIL, but you want to win and you don't want to lose players. And you've been willing to do anything to make sure that you have them. I don't know what stops that line of thinking. So there's a sense that the money will come back, but I don't know how that money doesn't come back and then go back up. Now, does it go back to the 35, 40 million? Maybe not. And does that mean we never see it climb to 50 and 60 and 70 and 80? Maybe. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough to keep this thing from completely because here's the thing I know. The number's 35, 40 million, Chad, and nobody at Texas is like, nope, can't do that either. You know what I mean? Like, what we have not seen is a response that suggests that reporting's crazy. It's not going to be nearly that high. And you know what wasn't reported in that and what I'm not reporting? That it won't be paid. Like, that they don't know how they're – I don't think they know yet how they're going to do it, but it'll get paid. And I think that one of the fascinating elements of this is there's been such a cry for there's not that much money. We can't do this. We're barely breaking even as a university. They find a way, don't they? They do. They find a way. And they're going to find a way with this. And if it means that some people who've been making $400,000 a year now have to make $250,000 from an administrative role, like that may have to happen. You know, Steve Patterson was hired as an athletic director at Texas because at one point Texas had over 600 people working in the athletic department. And they were like, that's a few 200, many more than we need.
Yeah, maybe coaches will start having to.
Patterson was like, man, I will come in there and fire some people.
Yeah, maybe coaches will start having to pay for meals again. No, never mind. We won't go to that level. Ben G, yes, your $50 is doing some work, Ben, and they appreciate it.
And they don't want you to stop.
They do not want you to stop. Catch, we got a $19.99 super chat from Oscar. Thank you, Oscar. If it's just a few big money donors for Texas and schools like A&M and Ole Miss are deeper than us numbers-wise, but we still out-recruit them, you'd think those schools' small money donors will not continue at that level if they can't do anything with it, right? I'm assuming that's a question mark at the end of that for Oscar. It's an interesting thought.
I mean, Oscar, you're saying the same thing that I'm saying, which is how do you keep the A&Ms and the Ole Misses who have a willingness to go whatever distances are needed from going to whatever distances are needed? I'm fascinated by and how I wonder, and Chad, this feels like a lawsuit waiting to happen. It's 36 to 40 million this year. Market value is being established as we speak. Chad, what's the going rate for a defensive tackle who's good enough to start at a school like Texas?
Like 700,000 to $1 million?
Yeah.
Something like
so
that.
How does, as soon as next year start, and I'm not saying that the numbers don't come back because of the settlement, but if a guy signs a $600,000 contract with Syracuse and Syracuse walks that up to this auditing company and says, here you go, evaluate it. I don't know how they come back and say that's not fair market value. That's literally what guys are just being paid. So to suddenly say that what was the going rate a year ago isn't potentially the going rate. I don't know how anybody could at that point come in and say, well, this is literally what guys are making. Now, you can say schools don't have, that there are limits and that there are guardrails, but that doesn't mean that defensive tackles are going to stop wanting to get paid or looking to get paid that much money. And I don't know how. It's as if you're expecting the criminals to not break the law. How do you prevent those that want to cheat and kind of have a license to do so? I don't know. Like I don't have the answers. I think there's what I know is the price of doing business this year has exploded. I know that there's an expectation that the explosion will be mitigated by the settlement and that the numbers will go down. I just don't know what keeps those numbers down and then not going back up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if there's any control at all in this whole thing. Oscar, thank you for that super chat. We appreciate it.
Chad, can I give you another example? Mm-hmm. Settlement goes through. And Colin Simmons will be back next year. Colin Simmons is like in the $2 million a year range. for NIL right now. I don't think he's quite getting that, but he can touch it. He can reach out and slap it. Hey, neighbor. And that's per a source back in January.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, we're going to stay around 20 million or less moving forward, then how's Colin Simmons going to make his $2 million? And who's going to tell Colin Simmons, and who's going to say in a court of law that the going rate for an All-America defensive end isn't $2 million? Like, I just, some of this stuff, it feels like 5-10 years ago, we'd have some of these conversations and we'd go, man, that doesn't sound like the kind of thing that would pass in a courtroom. And we always would say, well, it's a good thing the NCAA never goes to court because this stuff doesn't sound legal. And guess what? They finally went to court. And guess what? They all found out none of this stuff is legal. And so some of this falls into the category of, I just don't see how that makes sense. Colin Simmons has another year of eligibility beyond this year. He's making like $1.75 million reportedly this upcoming year. That number doesn't go down next year, I don't think, because if Texas tries to pull it down, what's to keep USC from saying, well, we'll pay you that much?
Right. The only way that gets put under control is if somebody puts it under control. And like you're saying, it's not. Catch, you and I didn't grow up in a world where NFL quarterbacks made $40 million a year, but we're living there now.
Well, the answer is either we just don't pay it and you choose to do what Tennessee just did.
Right? You're going to stand your ground.
You know what? If this means we lose players, it means we lose players.
Right. Yeah. Will the Texases and Ohio States and Georgias really start doing that?
Will it be like, well, look, remember what happened to Oklahoma last year? They had a wide receiver budget. We have a wide receiver budget.
Right.
What's that? Pick any wide receiver on the Texas roster right now. Like, Ryan Wingo wants more NIL money. Well, either we give it to him and we cut a player, or we tell another player there's no money for them and then they may leave, or we don't pay Ryan Wingo the money and then maybe he goes into the portal because he's looking for more. That doesn't sound like, or, and we hate to do this, we just spend more. Chad, let me tell you something. I was out of control for the cards that are behind me. Mm-hmm. Some of these cards are, I have one set in particular. It's 9 cards. Mm-hmm. There are only 2 cards made of 6 of the cards, and 3 of the cards are 1-of-1s.
Damn. Okay.
These cards do not exist on planet Earth outside of what I paid for them.
Yeah.
And outside of, for a couple, there are other copies of the card in some far corner of the world. But like I have the only complete set, and I could be the only one that has a complete set because 3 of these are 1-of-1s, right? There have been times where I've told myself, hey, in the name of controlling costs, because if I went above on a card, the next card was going to cost at least that. Like I was in the Liverpool soccer card collecting world. I was the market setter, and I am not bragging. Trust me, as it comes out of my mouth, it does not sound like I'm bragging, but I'm admitting that I had this out of control spending habit. Mm-hmm. And I would tell myself if a card came up on eBay, like, look, I know that this card's not worth more than $500, but what's it worth to me? And I think that's always going to be. And so what would happen is I would say it's a $500 card. That should be the going rate, but I want it and I don't want to lose it. So I'd put a bid in for like $1,000. And what would happen? At the very end, $400, $500, $600. And sometimes I would win the card at $600. Sometimes I'd win it at like $990. And you're like, oh, I only spent double on that from what I thought I rightfully should have spent. But did I turn it down? No. Did I try to return the card? No. Did I make any apologies? No. I had to have it. I still have to have it. I haven't broken up any of these sets. I want them all together. Texas will do that. Every team will do that with its players. So I don't know, again, what controls the market value concept, because it seems like for me, the going rate for a big defensive tackle that has a pulse right now is 7 figures. And if you're telling me that next year that same guy might make 100,000 because nobody's going to offer him more than that, really? That just doesn't pass completely my smell test. So we'll see.
If you guys want to throw a super chat in, you know it will go right to the top of the list, and we will talk about it, whatever it is that you want to talk about.
Hey, so Chad, I've got to go. I'm going to let you finish the show without me.
Fair enough. I will do that. All right. That is Jeff Ketchum, kids. We've got to, adjust on the fly. Yeah. Thank you guys for jumping in the chat today. I see the comments on the side and on the chat, but if y'all know me at all, you know that first off, you knew if you put a super chat in, I would have asked him, but you didn't. You know how it works. You didn't do that. So that's part one. And part two is I should have taken him off the screen earlier and paid a bill and moved on and not had you watching him on the phone. That was kind of my fault. So there you go. So Ketch will go deal with the stuff he needs to deal with. I'll wrap up the show, but it is a fascinating conversation money-wise in terms of NIL stuff. So if you guys want to jump in, throw in a super chat, we will certainly get to that. I was just about to have Ketch talk about Rogue Shop. I'll talk about Rogue Shop a little bit because they have some incredible products. I just recently learned Rogue Shop has like a Skittles type of product. I've been telling people I know that this exists because maybe, when my birthday rolls around on Christmas, they'll pay attention. Or when Father's Day runs around in June, maybe they'll pay attention. But check them out. Texas home for legal CBD, THC, and more. They have all kinds of great stuff, including apparently some kind of Skittles-like product that they're very proud of, and all kinds of different ways for you to enjoy Rogue Shop. They've been a great partner of Orange Bloods for a long time. So jump on in if you would like. Vivek, thank you for your chat. I have no idea. I really don't. I have no idea. I saw it in the chat when you guys threw it in there. So I really do not know. Uncle Mickey, thank you for your comment. I'm glad that I'm your favorite Aggie. Appreciate it. And you know what, Cotton? Let's get this hashtag going. Whatever's happened, let's get this going, huh? Right? Yep. There you go. There you go. Yeah, that was text guy. Was abrupt. It was abrupt. Yeah, it's all right. Sometimes it happens. That's the beautiful, it's a beautiful thing about the YouTube thing. You just you can start and sometimes stop when you need to get that going. We got damn near 600 of you in the Specs chat. Let's give Specs their love. Anniversary going on. You may need to get stocked up for whatever. Kentucky Derby's coming up this weekend. Do you get together? Do you have all kinds of cool stuff? Do you need ingredients for a mint julep? Specs has it.
Have you heard the news? Specs is turning 63, and we're celebrating you. Whether you're looking for whiskey, canned cocktails, or wine, Specs has it all with Texas-sized savings all month long. Specs. Cheers to save.
All right, shout out to Specs for being a great partner of ours. Also, this one will seem ironic maybe at this point. Shout out to the orangebloods.com deal that's going on right now. Buy 1 month, get 3 free. Promo code B1G3F. Buy 1, get 3 free. 4 months of all that great Rivals content for the price of 1. Offer ends May 4th on Star Wars Day. So check that out. If you haven't gotten signed up yet, you've always wanted to get signed up, it is a perfect time right now. And for some reason, Sandman has jumped back in with the no, Sandman. That's not what's happening. That is not what is happening at all. Thank you guys for jumping in the chat. Again, this Kurt Bowles story out there today, the thing in the chat going on in the story there, which I guess maybe broke as we're on the show. That's going to be a part of conversations I know too. But this money conversation in college sports is never going away. And it's one that I thought it'd be a great idea to talk about it today because I love listening to Ketch talk about it because of the sourcing he's got on it. I think he's been pretty realistic telling you guys how many, are there tons of big money donors for Texas or not? What about the ability to raise that money or not? All those type of things. But that 35 to 40 is a wild number. If you're talking about, Ketch talked about a player getting twice as much year to year. This could theoretically be a twice the amount of what Ohio State just did that let's say that Texas, Georgia, and Ohio State have to do it again. And if so, where does that stop? That's part of the guardrail discussion I think that Ketch was having. That was bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. All right. You know what? Big Cheddar, I will answer your question on that coming up. Ben G, I'm just going to pop this up on the screen because it's funny. That's funny. Well done. All right. This is fantastic. All right. We've got a couple things in the chat we will hit. We've also got great. In fact, I'll throw my buy or sell at you guys like we did the other day because I do have a couple buy or sells I wanted to hit Ketch with. I'll hit y'all with those coming up. Before I do that, a couple of our other great partners to give a little love to. Y'all know I love sinus and snoring specialists. I had another great night's sleep last night. If you didn't, and you know why, get it taken care of. If it's allergy stuff, they can get rid of your allergies for good. If it's sinus infections, sinus headaches, they can get rid of those. They can help you figure out what's going on. If it's sleep apnea, if it's snoring, maybe you don't know what it is. Maybe you're just that sort of joke in the family. Well, Uncle Bill just snores. Well, Aunt Sally just snores. Hey, Mom just snores. Dad just snores. It's just the way it is. That does not have to be the way it is. You can get it taken care of. This is the place. 601-0303. Securely text them or call them on that number, or you can go to sinussnoringent.com. Tell them you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live. Tell them you heard me mention it. I swear by him. My wife does now. I have a really good, one of my best friends in the world, Rick Sacamano. He's a CPAP guy. I've worked with people that would marry their CPAP machine if it was legally allowed. There's a lot of great stuff out there in ear, nose, and throat. Go figure out what your particular path is. Dr. Slaughter and Sinus and Snoring Specialists can help you through it. Sinus and Snoring Specialists feel clear, rested, and healthy. The important word there at the end is healthy. We hope everybody is that, and you're feeling great today. Cotton, no. I just snore, deal with it. No, Cotton, no, because it's about you too, Cotton. It's not just about the people in the room. If you're snoring and it's bad enough, you might stop breathing a lot during the night, and then other stuff could get worse. Don't do that. Don't make your body work too hard. Get it taken care of. Don't do that, Cotton. All right. There is, let's see, this chat comes up. Good question from Big Cheddar. Let's get you a little preview. What's the Mach 5 top 5 for tonight's Outsiders? Good question, Big Cheddar. So we got Football with Friends at 6. 8:30 is an Outsiders tonight. We're going to talk about Sark and what does he need to do to pass Mac. It's a pretty simple question, but it does feel like with these two drafts back to back, with the seasons they've had, these two, and what could be coming the next couple of years, Sark trying to maybe even pass Mac in terms of resume. We'll talk about that. The Mach 5 top 5 is very simple. What are your 5 favorite animals that you would like to see race? It is Kentucky Derby weekend. If you could make them race, if you could make the animals get into race mode and go, what animals, your top 5 animals that you would love to see race? That's tonight on the Outsiders. So Big Cheddar, hey, you asked that question. But we will have that coming up for you. Old Fashioned is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with Anwar Richardson And who knows? There may be a whole lot to talk about on Old Fashioned as we get to it tomorrow. We had recruiting hour earlier today. Texas recruiting is still going wild and crazy, and a lot of good news, good updates. If you have not checked it out from the Texas side of it, if you need to go check it out at orangebloods.com, there is your QR code for that. Jason's 321 article is up. Jason did throw the rumor mill out today as well. Truth and Lies is coming later in the week. And of course, you hit over the weekends. You always get Catches 10 Thoughts on the weekend on usually Sunday afternoon, evening, Sunday morning. It's the Sunday Pulpit from Anwar, Alex Dunlap with all the great content that he throws out there, X's and O's wise, Cody Carpentier keeping you up to date. There's a Behind Enemy Lines article. I haven't even read it yet this week, but I saw Mike Elko's picture and it was something about A&M, but I had to go do something else. I need to go read that. You do too. orangebloods.com. Check it out. If you guys want to jump in the chat, feel free. Cotton throws in a chat. I appreciate the inquiries about whether my job at Orange Bloods Rivals is safe after today's news. My honest answer is I don't know, but I'm trusting that God's got this, whatever comes next. There you go, Cotton. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right. The folks are piling in to the chat today. A lot of good, strange comments with everything that's going on. All right, so everything they'll need to get sorted out will get sorted out, and we'll get you guys the info on whatever's going on as soon as we can. One bit of info I can always tell you is that when things are happening, updates are happening, stuff goes on, you might need a drink, and they've got some out at the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. Pineapple is out there. Did you know they just came out with a new flavor? I've told you a few times. I hope you know now. It's the 9th flavor of Deep Eddy Vodka. Last time I was out there, I did a tasting, got all 8 flavors at the time. Now just add pineapple in there. They've also got an incredible barbecue food truck on site. Crimson Creek Smokehouse Barbecue. It's good enough. I'd send you out to Dripping Springs just for that. But then you get to pair it up with the great cocktails. It's awesome. I love Deep Eddy Vodka. I love their vibe out there. They're all about having a great time. I've told you we're going to try to do the show out there at some point, maybe before the season gets cranked up, and looking forward to that as well. Make your plans. Thursdays through Sundays, 12 to 7 Thursday, Friday and Saturday, 11 to 7, Sunday, 12 to 5. The Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. All right. Glad everybody's jumping in the chat. And Cotton. Cotton, I can't tell you. I'm always blinking. Y'all know I am always blinking, so it's going to be hard to tell. Hard to tell for all of that. All right, let's get a little buy or sell going here at the end. Y'all help me with buy or sell most of this. This was meant for catch, but I want to know what you guys think of it too. This will be a good one to start with, especially for y'all. Give me your thoughts. Buy or sell number 1, Quinn will make the roster in Miami in 2025. I'm going to be real optimistic on Quinn, and I'm going to buy this. To be the backup, he's got to be better than Zach Wilson. Now, I know they probably paid Zach Wilson way too much money, so I guess they need to keep him. But you can keep 3 quarterbacks. Teams do that. I'm going to say it's a yes. I'm going to say it's a buy. I want to know what you guys think on this one. Is this going to happen? Is it going to happen? Sandman says yes. He says it's a buy. He says it's a buy. I hope he's right. I think it would be great. Oh, the dolphin emoji too. Like that. Like that. Our man Cody Carpentier says it's a buy. He knows it's the same thing. Mark says buy. All right. There you go. There's a buy. Oh, I see what happened here. Cotton, hashtag keep Chad. Sandman, hang on, hashtag sheep Chad. That's well done. It's just no notes. No notes, Sandman. Well done. Let me guess. There's an emoji coming here. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Kind of figured that's the way it is. See, Sandman, when it's over to the side for me, sometimes I can't see the emoji, but I know it's an emoji. I knew what that emoji was. I'd have bet my mortgage payment that that's what it was going to be. Well done, sir. Well done. All right, so there you go. Belief in Quinn. How about this one? Buy or sell number 2. The 35 to 40 million amount for NIL in college football is just for this season. After the suit is settled, the number will go down in 2026. I think this is a sell. I was setting catch up with this one. I figured he would sell immediately. I don't know if any number goes down here. That's just me. I'd love to think this is a buy. I would love to think we live in a world where this is a buy. I don't think it's close. I don't think it's close at all. By the way, Sandman, no, not patronize. No. You know I love it. You know I love you. You know I love you. What do you think? Yeah, I don't think so. Sandman just says yes. Sandman says yes. Yes, like it's going to go down. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure if it is. All right. So just to be thinking on that amount, I think it's one of those things that they got to get on. They got to find the number, though. They got to find a number of control. And each year, to somebody's point earlier, we all got to remember each year there's going to be a cap of sorts. And Cotton, players leave and open up the cap. Christopher says buy all day. Christopher, I hope you're right that it would come back down, but I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think what they're going to have to figure out is, and Brandon agrees with me that it's a sell, but at some point it's got to stop. Like you have to have part of it at least needs a cap on it. So let's say you start at 20.5 million, then the next year it's like 23, then maybe it's 24, 25. That number will be set. And then you have your collective on top. But the other thing to remember is this is one of those things where the number itself will be based, and again, depends on how they set it up. They've talked about setting it on revenue. So the amount of revenue, and I don't know exactly how it's going to be figured out. I don't know if it's like total revenue. And then they say, okay, based on that, we'll get you the percentage of the revenue. Here's your number, everybody. It's 23 million. It's 27 million. It's whatever. I think that's how they're going to ultimately going to do that. All right. Let's see. Did I get that? No, I'll get that one in a second. Let's go to, this is an interesting one to think about in terms of the NFL draft. Buy or sell number 3. If Texas is going to have a rookie of the year in football in the NFL, your money's on Golden. I think I would buy that now because I lean offense versus defense. To be the defensive rookie of the year it just feels a little more complex to me. Whereas the offensive rookie of the year just feels, I don't know, a little more specific. It just feels not easier to get, but a little more, you can draw the line, I think, a little clearer. So I'm going to go with Golden here. And you guys let me know if there's somebody else that jumps out. Text guy says buy. He's thinking Golden. Yeah, those other guys that were drafted, you got to think of the guys that were drafted pretty high. And obviously you're talking about an offensive lineman. You're talking about Barron, and that's a little tougher. I think it's got to be Golden. All right. And let's see here. Where are we going? All right, let's go to this one. Just to get y'all's feel on this, if you're watching a little. Some of you may not even be watching the NBA. In the NBA, you'll take Oklahoma City or Cleveland to win it all over the field. Give you one of the two, or I'll give you everybody else. What do you do here? Because there's a huge part of me that watches it and says yes. And says yes, agrees with Big Cheddar, and says absolutely. Then there's a part of me that does like stats, and here's the stat. Last time, the East and West number 1 seed swept in the first round, got a sweep to advance. Neither even made the finals, much less winning it. So anyway, just thought that was weird. Back to the other one. Text guy says Golden will go off in Green Bay. Text guy, as a Cowboys fan, I hate to agree with you, but I think you're right. I absolutely think you are right. Paxton throws in an interesting name. Helm, maybe. But Paxton, that's a tight end having to pull that off. Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. I know we live in a world where there's some freaky good tight ends, but boy, there's just, Yeah, there's something to that. Here's Cotton. He's going with the numbers. He's taking the field. He says, give me somebody else. He gets the Celtics. He gets the Warriors. He gets everybody. He gets all the rest of them. And everybody else is going to get Cleveland and Oklahoma City. He takes that. And then Tex guys on the other side says, bye, as strange as that feels. Man, they feel great, Tex guy, especially Oklahoma City. I thought Cleveland looks great, but I don't know if anybody is consistently doing what Oklahoma City is doing. I just wonder, just kind of wonder if it's gonna be their year. Big Cheddar says, I'll take Boston or Golden State. Big Cheddar, I love the stories that are percolating in the NBA. These 2 1 seeds trying to establish themselves. SGA trying to get his first title. Mitchell trying to get his first title. But then you have so many other guys that are like, maybe they're already in the ring club. Boston guys are in the ring club. They're trying to go back to back. Always special. The Warriors guys are trying to get to 5. If you get to 5, what does that mean? That means Magic. That means Kobe. And that means Duncan for you Spurs fans. That's the company you'll be keeping at that point. So I just love the drama of it. Love the drama of it. And then there's some people like Mark who quit watching the NBA on February 1st and 2nd. Yeah, Mark, I get you. By the way, as far as things that make me feel good that I also didn't need, I didn't need to read a story that Luka is going to step up to help clean off a Kobe mural that's been vandalized. Okay, that's good, but it's like stabbing me with a bunny rabbit or something. I don't even know how to describe what that feels like. Obviously, it's a great thing. Luka's a great human. I already thought he was, but he's doing that for anyway. Crazy. All right, and finally, let's throw this one in. Let's get after. This is the one you've been waiting for. All right. Because there's a big dog hottie with a birthday today. And I always like to test out just how much y'all like this other hottie. So you ready? You sure? Here we go. Buy or sell number 5. Gal Gadot is 40 today. Nice round number. Prime on prime. Gal Gadot, hotter than Halle Berry. Go ahead. Because I know a lot of you have very strong feelings about Halle Berry. Is this the silliest buy or sell I've ever come up with? Is this silly talk? We're talking about Gal Gadot here. Gal Gadot, pretty world class to me. Pretty world class. I was going to put her up against like a model, and I thought that might not be fair. Might not be fair. I'm not sure what this is. Just Dua Lipa. This is it. This is like a Dua Lipa reference. Is that what you're doing? She's beautiful. Ah, here's somebody buying. Hooked on the horns buying. I thought I was going to get a lot of sells. There's a sell. I knew it. I knew the Halle Berry crew was coming. Ricky says sell. Thomas says prime on prime. Ace says buy. I think it's a battle. I really do. Here's a buy with exclamation points from Jess. Here's just a logical question. Brandon says, how are you still a Mavs fan, chat? Brandon, I don't know. My whole life has been that. It's not one of those sports where I've been able to worm my way into another team and give you a reason why. I have one NBA team. I can root for other NBA teams, but it's not like an active rooting. It's not like I'm telling you I'm a fan. It's just the Mavs. Born 30 miles from Dallas. Grew up watching the Mavs. Went and saw the Mavs play Showtime Lakers when I was like 5, 6. Brad Davis, Mark Aguirre, Derek Harper and Ro Blackman and all those. I mean, like, it's in my soul. Mavs, that's just my team. So am I going to be able to maybe pull for like Luka as a Laker if a situation works out? Maybe. But I've yet to have another team where I really feel that strongly, and I'm going to go grab another team. I have not done that one. ZOV. Oh, thank you, ZOV. Says that's a good one. He's going Godot. I think it's a tough one. I really do. Here's another buy. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Brandon says, yes, not in the same league. Barry. Okay. All right. He's buying. Interesting. And I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I'm not saying they're not Y'all got to understand, I've never said I thought Halle Berry was not a super world-class hottie. I've never said it. I am just amazed at times that people have gone to the levels that they do for Halle Berry, and they won't discuss anybody else. But I do want to give a shout out to Gal today. I am the father of a daughter that I can still remember when we took her to see Wonder Woman, and we all kind of fell in love with the movie, and I certainly fell in love with Gal Gadot that day. So I can remember that one. So she is something. 40 years old today. Cotton throwing in as much. And yep, we appreciate you, Chad, always. Hashtag keep Chad. Hashtag let Chad speak. Hashtag blinkers. Hashtag mini helmet Hall of Fame. Thank you, Cotton. Appreciate you. Appreciate you there. Somebody else threw this in earlier, and I wanted to answer. Sandman, what is the most annoying college fan base to you other than Texas, and why? Yeah, and I'm not just saying this because of what I do, but if y'all know me, Texas doesn't find its way to the top of my list. Again, I'm an Aggie that wasn't trained to hate Texas, so it's just not there. The ones that jump into my mind, like Ohio State jumps into my mind immediately because for me, I love sports up to a certain point. When you start resorting to unnecessary just vitriol and bile and violence, that's just not my thing. And too many Texas people came back with bad stories in 2005. And I've not really been able to forgive Ohio State fans for that one. They jump to mind. From my childhood, Arkansas fans have always stood out to me. I did not enjoy hanging out with them when I was young. Just an overt rudeness about these people. I couldn't understand it. It didn't make any sense to me. So that's what upsets me with college fan bases. Like you can be unrealistic. You can think your team's greater than they really are. We get into those discussions all the time. You can think you're a little more historic than you actually are. Whatever. But when you just resort to like pure meanness, violence, and throwing stuff and burning stuff, and those are the ones that don't do much. Those are the only two that pop in my head right now, though, for annoying college fan bases. Those are the ones. I'm not saying Texas fans can't be annoying at times. I guess any fan base obviously can be annoying, but Texas, based on what I've done over the years and as many Longhorns as I know, no. I've said for years, I think you guys are a fairly realistic fan base. And I think sometimes you're too realistic. Just like I think my Aggies are a lot of times not near realistic enough. I think that's the basic difference between Longhorns and Aggies at a lot of times, at least the ones that I've been around. But Sandman, thank you for that question. See, every time it's discussed, Hook says, Ohio State fans in Ohio were obnoxious. Jesse's throwing in Tennessee. And you know what, Jess, you also throw in OU. Here's the weird one. Like for me, OU, there is some annoying quality to them, obviously, but you guys have that special thing where when you get together with them in Dallas every year, it's almost like it's a parade of obnoxiousness. It's almost like you're both agreeing this is where class stops. We leave the class at the door. The class stays at the gate at Fair Park. And we all come in and go after it into as classless as we can get to. That's sort of the agreement I think you guys make with OU. But yes, OU is probably another fan base that, not a big see, Sooner fans are the worst. So there you go. All right. Let's see. I think, Brandon, now I know why you asked. You're trying to coax me over. The Spurs have back-to-back rookie of the years. Come on over to a team that doesn't trade away your soul to the Lakers. Brandon, I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to do that, but I'm also not going to tell you that there haven't been times in my life where I've just thought to myself, oh, my dad could have taught in the San Antonio area. They have schools there. They have high schools with, math and science classes. Why didn't he pick the San Antonio area? I have had those thoughts. Spurs fans, enjoy your lives as Spurs fans. I'm trying to deal with mine as a Mavs fan right now. All right. Thank you all for jumping in today. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and getting those notifications. Obviously, there's all kinds of reasons for you to get on over to orangebloods.com. That QR code we throw up there, we say it all the time. It's the easiest way to join orangebloods.com. So do that. I will also throw up the deal for you. The buy one, get 3 free one more time today. Buy 1 month, get 3 free. B1 G3F. And that offer ends coming up on Sunday, on May the 4th. For you Star Wars freaks. And again, Football with Friends at 6, Outsiders at 8:30. Come join us tonight for a little What Are You Drinking Wednesday. Old Fashioned tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And Lord willing, the creek don't rise. We'll be back tomorrow at noon for another edition of House Divided. For Jeff Ketchum and his incredible card collection, I'm Chad Hastings. Thank you all for jumping in. Again, like it on the way out. If you didn't like it on the way in, all that support definitely helps. And we appreciate you guys supporting us. Have yourself a good Wednesday, and we'll talk.